May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this year, a new book, Profiles in Mental Health Courage, by former Congressman Patrick J. Kennedy, aims to shed light on the struggles so many Americans face.
And the book plays homage to Kennedy's famous uncle JFK, who published Profiles in Courage in 1956. And here to tell us more is the author himself, Patrick J. Kennedy. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you guys for letting me come here.
And this book profiles interviews with a large number of people who struggled with mental issues. Why do you think it was so important to share these stories so openly?
Well, we all know we're living kind of in a mental health pandemic with suicide so high, overdose so high, and especially with our young people suffering in numbers that we've never seen before. We only know the kind of top line statistics. As a nation, we really don't know kind of what does it mean to suffer from one of these illnesses, and how do you grapple through life with a job, with a family? How do you navigate all that? Plus, you know, how do you get care? And then how do you get care that works? So there's a better need for this kind of understanding, especially if you're wanting to change the system and develop policies that actually help people. You need to know how people need to be helped. And but there's nothing like someone telling their own story to also end the isolation of others who are also suffering, because most people only get the whitewashed kind of self-edited version, so they think, what's wrong with me? When they read these stories, they'll say, you know what, these are complex illnesses, they're not always easy, they're a little messy, and hopefully they won't feel like people are not measuring up, because you know, they can't keep up with the Joneses. Someone else seemed to have conquered their problem, but I'm still suffering. What's wrong with me? When they read these stories, they'll realize, no, it's quite, you know, common that people, when they have these illnesses, will continue to suffer. Now, they'll have periods of real success, but they also will have setbacks, but that's no judgment on them.
So it's clear that this book will help a lot of people. I'm wondering if I could ask you personally, as you wrote it, did you have your own realizations for your own mental health and well-being?
Yeah, so I'm a person in long-term recovery, which means for me I've not had to use drugs or alcohol or any mood-mind-altering substance, as we say, pills, pot, or powder. And that has made a transformational effect on my life and my family's life. And I have addiction runs in my family, mental illness runs in my family, and these are cyclical things. You know, my parents suffered, their parents suffered. So it's important that we know that when we have an illness, it affects everyone around us. And that story isn't always told. In this book, I interview the parents, the siblings, the children, and the coworkers. And what I find is they haven't talked to each other, so none of them has the full picture of what it's like.
So what's your best advice to those who are caring for someone living with a mental illness?
Well, obviously, it's not feeling like, oh, you're encroaching on their personal space, which is why a lot of people don't talk to their friends. Oh, it's not that bad. I went to my cousin Mark's, the funeral for his son, Harry, and he said to me, you know, Patrick, I know you do so much on mental health, and I was going to call you. I just didn't think it was that bad. And his son had just taken his life. Oh. So I think a lot of people underestimate like how serious these illnesses, because keep in mind, all of us try to make pretty on the outside. And what this book does, these 12 incredible profiles in courage, tell about what it's really like. And by the way, they use their own names. And that tells you why they're such courageous people.
It's so important. And the courage to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And you can pick up a copy of Profiles in Mental Health Courage everywhere books are sold.